Welcome back to the channel where I talk to the people behind Australia's franchises, asking them the real questions as to what makes their franchises tick and why you should consider buying into their network. Less sales talk and more real info that gets under the covers of franchise ownership. Today's quickfire Q&A spotlight is on Milky Lane food franchise. If you want to see if you're a good fit to Milky Lane, take our assessment in the link in the description, or simply, if you simply want more information about the franchise opportunity, head over to hatch.com, search for Milky Lane, inquire, and receive their franchise information pack. Today, we're joined by Peter, who is the CEO of Milky Lane. Peter, thanks for coming on.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Peter, jumping into the company history, the overview, can you share with us, when was Milky Lane established? Where did it all start? And I suppose the second approach of that is, what was the mission, what's the purpose, and what the 5-year, 10-year plan looks like?
Milky Lane was founded in 2016 at Bondi Beach. It was two friends that became four overnight because the two friends were looking for a site for a magical burger experience and stumbled across a site in Bondi and managed to convince the owners of that site at the time to turn it into what was and is Milky Lane. The business was built around the idea of big burgers, food porn experience, awesome cocktails, and a place to really hang out with your friends. And it definitely did that. The brand, blew up overnight, and to this day is still one of the largest followed brands on social media for restaurants, with over 250,000 followers on Facebook and Instagram. So the following is well over 500,000 people.
Good effort.
The likes of Ed Sheeran and Post Malone and, all these, amazing celebrities wanted to go to the brand at that time as well. So, you leap forward, 8 or 9 years to today, and the brand is still very true to what it offered at that time. Yeah. Some interesting facts about the brand is, we've got an incredibly high beverage split. People don't just come to have the burgers. They're there to try the epic cocktails, and so much so, just things like mega shakes and milkshakes represent over 15% of revenue. So it's not just a burger joint, it's a place to have a great experience. And one of the wonderful things about our mission and our values is they've kind of changed over time, because the brand was so centered around a place for friends to hang out. It was almost a nightclub, but not a night club. But now some of our busiest periods are the school holidays, where we do things like minion shakes, and I won't tell you what we're doing for the upcoming school holidays. That's top secret. But, people with families are coming in and having birthday parties for 16ths and even younger kids. It's a place for someone like myself with 3 children. I can go there and enjoy the ambience and enjoy the music and enjoy the burgers, and the kids have a great time as well.
That's awesome.
So I think a lot of it has remained true, but as a brand evolves, you've got to start catering. So when the brand started, kids meals weren't an idea and kids shakes weren't an idea, and the thought of having a kid's birthday party, but it quickly evolves to, as you expand geographically and go into different suburbs and different states, you've got to start catering for those.
Yeah. So with regards to what does the future for Milky Lane look like? What's the ambitions over the next 5-10 years, growth wise or positioning wise? What does it look like?
We want to continue to position ourselves as a strong brand of preference in this space. So we've traditionally been a larger big box format, big venues with 300 seats and 350 seats. That market has changed and we're evolving with that. So we're starting to select smaller sites, but still have great foot traffic, great locations, and the opportunity to attract customers. That big box format that we've seen for 20, 30 years in the Australian market is starting to shrink.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is now we're in a position that we can evolve with that, because a lot of new developments are putting in smaller format food offerings. So we're moving with the times, because there is that macro and micro force telling the market to, go to that smaller format. Inside of it, part of our growth strategy now is that we've got a very strong area developer in Western Australia that's supporting our growth. and we're focusing on the Queensland market at this point in
Yeah.
time. So without making, this podcast or interview redundant in 6 months' time, the Queensland corridor is very important for us. And we're recruiting in Townsville, Ipswich, and we've just recently secured a franchisee in the northern suburbs of Brisbane. So we really want to double down on that Queensland market. More broadly, we're in discussions, and I can't say who and where, with some international markets as
fantastic.
well. We really do believe that this brand has a place on that bigger global or world stage, where the big box format in some markets like the Middle East and Asia will still work, and a 300-seat venue would be considered small.
Yes, you've got to try and test it here in Australia. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah, while you're contracting the size here to suit the market, you've already got a tested model that you can bring over for that big box market in other countries.
Exactly. And, will Milky Lane ever be in a drive-through pad site? No, that's not what we're about.
You miss the experience.
You miss the experience. But the experience kind of works in even smaller formats, where we're exploring things like food trucks and vans, because, if you look specifically in the Eastern market, in particular Sydney and Melbourne, food trucks are trending, and that's where people almost want to hang out on a Saturday night. So we've got a brand that can fit, on the world stage, and can fit on the side of potentially a petrol station or a food truck at a music festival, which again has worked very well for us in the Perth market. As I said, the area developer there has been very active in festivals and events, including the Perth Royal Show.
That's great.
And the brand is phenomenal in those environments.
That's great. That's great. Okay, product and service offerings. I know we briefly touched on it, but what is the core product that you have, and is there any verticals that you're looking to move into?
Yeah, the core food offering is burgers. We've got a range of about 12 or 13 burgers, from a basic cheeseburger, which we call a Little Wheezy, which isn't basic because it's got 4 sauces on it, and a double smash patty and high melt cheese, all the way through to what we call the Big Popper, which is a double smash patty with double cheese, beef brisket, bacon, mozzarella cheese patty.
Okay, you're killing me here. It's before lunchtime, and I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I'm gonna head out now and have a salad. So, but yeah, look, the burgers are a huge offering, but then they're also complemented by a series of starters and sides, which are over the top. So, again, we were that brand that sort of birthed the big burgers and birthed things like loaded fries and over-the-top popcorn chicken with different sauces and bacon and all that good stuff. And then it moves through into some really well-known desserts. So we're known for our caramel and lotus biscoff skillet, which is just... That's the reason why I took this job. I went to one of our restaurants with my wife. You've got to try before you buy. And we dug into this skillet, and it was just mind blowing. I'm like, I'm in, because my background was previously in the dessert space. So it got me over the line very, very quickly.
Yeah. Excellent.
And then we move into, a big portion of the business, which is the drink side. So again, over the top cocktails with Persian fairy floss and candies on the side, all the way through to share cocktails, which are served coming out on dry ice, which serve between 4 and 6 people. And then we're super well known for our dessert cocktails, including the Reese's Peanut Butter Martini and the Buffalo Bill cocktail. So for those of you watching the podcast, if you're not following our socials or you haven't visited our website, it's all there in all its glory.
Very, very visual. Very visual. Moving into target market and industry trends, I know it's a bit of a double-edged sword here, but who are we targeting as your customer? Who can franchisees expect to be selling to? And then within that target market, what sort of trends are you seeing to help franchisees understand how the food space is moving?
Again, as I said earlier, the mission has evolved because as you expand geographically, so do the needs of the business. You could be there on a Saturday night, and at 6:30, grandparents are rolling in there with prams with the grandkids. And then after they leave, someone's doing a 16th or an 18th. And then the next group is a group of gym junkies that are this big, hoeing into cheap platters. It is really a diverse group. And we've got a video that maybe we can share on the platform that shows that kind of day into night transition for the
Yes.
brand, where at lunchtime it's, you know, families and milkshakes, and then at nighttime it's share cocktails and DJs.
So that experience evolves throughout the day. So you've got your lunchtime trade, which is obviously going to be not centered around your cocktails, more so
Yeah.
the food. But then you're transitioning into evening time where you're bringing in probably a younger
Yeah, a
generation,
younger crowd that's,
music
yeah.
experience.
Oh, the music is always on, the vibe is always there, the friendly service and great experience is always there. But the market almost does change, where, you know, without naming other brands, they've really found it difficult to carve into, say, a family market, and they're doing big family meals, but
Yeah,
it's just the individual that's going through drive-through to just get a burger
yeah,
or a pizza or whatever it may be, where we seem to have navigated across that quite well. But, you know, again, we're an experiential space, so periods like long weekends and public holidays and
yeah.
school holidays is
Wrap up.
really where the brand really comes into its own.
Okay, excellent. Moving into ongoing fees like royalties, marketing fees, and this varies from brand to brand. Are we a percentage of revenue? Are we fixed fee? How much are those fees, so that
Yep.
those listening can understand how it's all structured?
Yeah, the royalty fee is 6.5% payable weekly. And then we also have a 2% marketing fee, which goes into a separately administered marketing fund that operates separate to the holding entity.
And that's weekly as well.
So also paid weekly. And then there are some smaller ongoing fees around technology. And at
Yeah.
this point in time, that's mainly around Google
Yeah.
subscriptions for the number of users that we have.
Yeah, excellent. Moving into training and support. Now, training and support, this is a vital component. People have outlaid X amount of dollars. They're transitioning from potentially being an employee into now business ownership. It is a very anxious, nervous time for them. Can you give us an understanding of what your onboarding to the brand looks like? How many weeks do you start out from commencement? What does it look like? And then opening day hits. What does it look like month 1, month 2, month 3 after that?
I might start backwards and talk about from when the site is complete and moving through, and then talk about the initial support. So typically, prior to a venue opening, we are on site for at least 2 weeks.
Yep.
And we're going all the way from the recruitment of casuals and supporting group interviews and training to the first deliveries coming through and providing that key training. Prior to that, in most circumstances, the franchisee has appointed their department heads, like a head of food, a head of bar, and they will attend centralized training at another venue prior to coming into their venue. So we want those key people to see and feel the Milky Lane experience prior to, you know, opening the doors. And then those people can provide assistance with the interview process, because it's their team that they're bringing in. And then they're along on the journey with that initial training for the casual staff. So that program prior to taking over the store is typically a 2-week training program at another venue. And that's a combination of typically hands-on experience and some theory.
Yeah, excellent. So by the sounds of it, you guys give a lot of support with regards to sourcing staff as well, because being a big format restaurant, I'm sure there's quite a number out there.
We're assisting with the placement of ads, the filtering and screening.
Yeah.
If we're on site, we'll assist with the group interview process, onboarding, employment contracts, setting them up on payroll systems and all that jazz. So, you know, that's
awesome.
The benefit of a franchise system, is that there's someone or there are people there to assist you with, you know, the big scary decisions. And do they go well every time? No. Sometimes you think you're hiring some superstar casuals and then they don't turn up to the first shift, or they demonstrate that they can make a cocktail, but when they've got to make 20 or 30 in a row, the pressure's on. So,
correct.
But in those first few weeks, we're also there. So we don't just open the doors on day one and say, see you later, good luck. Again, we're there over a transitionary period of about 10 to 14 days with different people from different departments. In some instances, we'll even lean and loan on the expertise of other venues. So if it's a Queensland venue opening, we may say, hey, can we get the kitchen manager from this venue to provide some additional support. So when we walk away, there's someone else there. So, and you're also a phone call away, a training lesson away, a flight away from being able to provide that ongoing support.
Yeah, great. Day in the life of a franchisee. I'm a Milky Lane franchisee. What does my morning look like? What time am I getting into the restaurant or to the venue, staffing, etc.? And what time can I expect to shut doors and get home for family time? What does a typical day in the life or even a day in the week look like for a franchisee?
It's an interesting question because it varies on the franchisee type. So again, being a relatively new franchise system, we've got a number of partners that are owner-operator, and that continues to be our strong preference. But we've also got a number of franchisees that operate hospitality groups, and they operate off a completely different model where they've got appointed managers and targets, and they've got their own teams to support the business. So I'll focus more on an owner-operator. It varies because, the expectation of when you open a venue, it ain't a 30-hour, 40-hour week when you open any business or take on any role. So I won't necessarily, disclose the hours, but it's a hard slog when you first take over a business, and there'll be, Saturday is a day that you'll be there at 10:30 in the morning and you'll be leaving at 11 o'clock at night. If you want to do the job right and train and support your team. It also comes down to the team that you recruit as a venue manager, kitchen managers, bar managers. If they've got the right skill set, the right expertise, and most importantly, the franchisee empowers them to do the job, then quality of life and balance for a franchisee is very different. However, if you're the type of person that has low trust and needs everything to be perfect and you're micromanaging, you're going to be in your restaurant 60 hours a week. So it really comes down to you as an individual, the leadership skills that you possess. And we profile all this through our interview processes. There's self-assessments and questionnaires. We're looking for leaders that will allow people to do their job and lead. We're not looking for a franchisee that's going to do the ingredient orders 5 days a week because they can't trust their kitchen manager. You've appointed a kitchen manager to do the job. But look, to kind of paraphrase, in the ideal situation, we're looking at a franchisee that is in a leadership position that is empowering their team members to do a lot of the basic day-to-day. What do we want a franchisee to do? We want the franchisee to be accountable and responsible for rosters and know who's on when, and make sure that, I steal this quote from someone else, that you've got your aces in their places. Because by managing a successful roster with the right people, your life as a franchisee is much easier because you're not over the shoulders of people. We would expect and want an owner-operator franchisee to be in the venue on those peaks, especially early on. For a franchisee to not be in their venue on a Friday or Saturday night would just be madness in those initial months until you're building up your team. We also want our franchisees in the venue during the lower or non-peak periods, because that's the administrative time. That's the time that you can sit down with your kitchen manager. You can sit down with your venue manager. You can review rosters. You can look at orders. You can look at a stock take and go, why are we carrying, 40 bottles of this when we only need 8? So you kind of want the franchisee to be present at the peaks of the business and at the lows. And if the venue is well set up and well geared, the example that I give to a franchisee is, your role is to have no role. Your role is to almost be the conductor and provide support to the string section and provide support to the woodwinds, So you're not in there flipping burgers, but you might be out the back helping them out, getting some of the items ready for their service. You might tell the bartender, don't worry, I'll get that post-mix Coke going while you do that cocktail. You do what you do best.
You're the fill-in person.
I'll clear the tables for you so you can greet that customer, because you're going to do a better job than me, because I've hired you to be that amazing person at the front of the venue.
So basically to be the conductor, and also to step out of the way to allow their team to actually roll out the experience.
Let your team shine.
Yeah.
Support them to do what they need to do.
Which is a great segue into what we're going to discuss next, and it's staffing requirements. And we touched briefly earlier that you've got a kitchen manager, you've got a venue manager, but help people who are watching this, help them understand what's the sort of staffing level, how many casuals, how many part-time, and how many people do they expect to be managing at any one stage, so that they can understand, I suppose, the size of your operation.
Yeah. Look, again, it varies on the size of the location, and it also varies on the turnover of the location. Clearly, the busier you are, the
Yep.
more people you need. But, we've seen very high turnover venues on a Saturday night run a kitchen with 4 to 5 people.
Yep.
But there are dedicated roles. But then on a lunch shift, there may only be 2 people in there, and one of them's doing wash up. So it varies from the shift type or day time, as well as the size of the store. We've got some venues that would have on their books, anywhere between, 35 to 40 staff. And then we've got some venues that might have 15 to 20 people on their payroll.
So
But
management skills is going to be, we're going to get into it shortly, but management skills is going to be a really key feature for a franchisee.
Yeah, of course, I think it's important that the franchisee is accountable for their team, but we've also got a role to play in the business as the franchisor with training material, online learning, support, getting communications out, doing it in a reliable and consistent way so they have the tools.
Yeah.
An example of this, without, again, putting a timestamp on this, today our point of sale provider has sent out an alert and notice saying that there are some issues with the point of sale. We have an obligation. They may have read that email, they may have not, but we can now push that through. And we haven't sent that through just to the franchisees. We've sent it to the venue managers, because the venue manager the franchisee might not be in venue today.
Yeah.
So again, communication and support from our side is key, but the franchisees need to deliver and follow through as well. Management of staff in any business is critical. And sometimes the smaller the team, the more important it is as well, because you need to get productivity out of that small.
Yep. Locationing requirements and territory information. So are we setting up in suburbia, busy streets, funky neighborhoods? And then is your territories, are they exclusive, non-exclusive? What's the venue sizes? Can we just jump into that?
The venue sizes are varying, but we are looking for a footprint of around 220 square meters up to about 300. 300 is on the higher side. We are looking for venues with a mixture of indoor and outdoor, but the preference typically is indoor. There is a seasonality clearly to outdoor dining. We are looking for higher end or more premium sites with foot traffic and visibility. We don't want to be out the back and hidden. We are a destination, however. People will come to us, so we don't need giant signs, for a drive-through. People will know that we're in that suburb or we're in that area, and they will come out and seek out to find us. So what ties in with a great site? Proximity to public transport, proximity to other venues and a social nightlife, parking availability for families and people that are just coming in for dinner. We're looking for a premium foot traffic site. And again, we talk about the evolution of mission statements, the evolution of suburbs and profiles. Neighborhood centers are completely changing, where there are now developments I was just on a call with a developer, 180 unit site with a Coles Liquorland, and they're looking for 4 food tenants. That did not exist, 15, 20 years ago, and that format's changed.
Yep.
Even that same agent was talking to me about a site that was a 350 square meter site a few months ago. And this tenancy, the largest site that they're looking at, is 200 square meters. So we need to be able to fit that mold if we believe that site is of preference. We are having a bit of a skew and success through regional markets, so much so that our area developers in Perth have successfully opened a site in Karratha, literally the middle of nowhere, and it's gone off like a frog in a sock. But we do strongly believe that there is a strong Queensland corridor. We've got venues in Cairns, Brisbane and Surfers Paradise, but moving inland into Ipswich, Toowoomba, Bundaberg, Mackay, Townsville, are definitely on the radar. For anyone on this call that's looking within that regional space, population base is over $100,000. 100,000 people is definitely of interest. But again, we're looking for the right location and the right site. We've looked at some markets where it's a 400 square meter site in the right town, too big.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're being patient.
Looking at the territory, do you operate an exclusive or non-exclusive territory?
They typically start off as an exclusive territory, but it is centered around the store. In some instances, we've provided franchisees in a new territory first right of refusal on that second site. We're not opening a Milky Lane across the road because just the format doesn't work that way. Again, without generalizing, we're not a smaller format. It's not a Subway where you can literally have one a kilometer down the road on the other side of the highway and they service a completely different market. We are a destination brand that does pull in.
Yeah. Great. Franchisee qualifications and experience required.
Yeah.
Are we looking for experienced hospitality people? Or are we looking for people managers given the size of your facility and your venue? Who is it that we're looking for? I'm sure accountants probably wouldn't be the right people. Seems like a pretty fast-paced environment.
Yeah. Look, we treat every applicant fairly and on merit. We've recently approved a franchisee with very little hospitality experience, but a strong retail, sales, commercial, and leadership background.
Fantastic.
That's had a lot of success in those spaces with transferable skills. But then on the other side, we've approved franchisees that own a hospitality group and a number of other restaurants. And we know that their needs will be very different from training, onboarding, staff recruitment and training. So we will flex based on the applicant and if we believe that they're the right fit for us from an attitude, personality, and skill set point of view. Our preference is hospitality experience. If a person has lived and breathed hospitality for 10 or 15 years and want to take that leap into owning a business, it's the fear of that leap far easier because they go, I know how to run a kitchen. I know how to run a bar. I've done thousands of stock takes and end of day procedures. But if you haven't done that, we are here to support you as well.
Yeah. I suppose it's really looking at that personality, given you guys have such an experience in the venue. It's that personality to create that environment and create the team to allow them to create the culture of Milky Lane within that venue. So I suppose it's a very outgoing person who can really drive and motivate a team to achieve that experience.
Yep, a strong people person with strong skills of nurturing and supporting a team. A person with a strong hospitality background may be more inclined to hire people with less experience because they can appoint a strong kitchen manager that will grow a team. But a person with less hospitality experience, we would be sitting down going through the interview process going, you're not hiring anyone without X years of experience. Yeah. You need bartenders with 2 or 3 years experience because you don't have the time to train people and you may not have the skill set to train them.
Yeah.
So
and you have to get up to scratch.
It will vary.
You have to get up to scratch as quickly as possible. Otherwise, validation of the venue is not going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Unique selling proposition and competitive advantage. What is the USP of Milky Lane and what do you believe is your competitive advantage?
I think it still rings true from, where we've positioned ourselves from day one. It all comes down to the experience. I've been with the business now for 18 months. And again, what I've observed is that there aren't many brands following the footsteps of Milky Lane on the experience and beverage side. So I believe that it's a combination of the experience and the beverages that is our, not necessarily unique selling proposition, but it is our advantage. Yeah. If you were to strip the murals and the lights and the DJs and the drinks away, we're just another burger business that offers a great burger. It's not a basic, it's still big format, food porn style burger. But what are we without the elements of the dry ice coming out on cocktails and the super friendly service and a person greeting you at the front on a Saturday night to your doing that table service experience? You're just another burger joint with a hole in the wall. So yeah, really it comes down to that great premium beverage offering. And it's not all alcohol. The shakes are a huge component of the business, and it's the experience and love that we give to our guests.
Great. Challenges and potential risks for franchisees. And this is, nothing's ever a given. And any business to get off the ground is hard work, hard yards, being in there, sacrificing family time. But given we've just come through a very high inflationary period with interest rate rises and they're on the down now, economic factors, is there any other challenges or potential risks for prospects looking at a Milky Lane?
I think all potential applicants, when they're getting to the pointy end, really need to do their due diligence. My advice or recommendation on that point is that you should never do it alone. You should be sitting down with an accountant, a lawyer, trusted business advisors, people that that own a similar type business, because they will tell you the lay of the land and tell you that it's hard, or it's this, or gosh, it's hard to find good staff these days, or whatever it may be. Widespread macro challenges. And again, I don't want to date and timestamp, this video, but we've only just come through one rate reduction. We need 2 or 3, I think, before it gets really quite rosy for the hospitality industry. It has been tough. We can't shy away from the fact that you can see news articles of, hardship in the hospitality sector.
Yeah.
It's been difficult. So, it's a storm that we're riding out and being consistent with. So I think that's one macro aspect that you need to look at. The micro level is that you need to look at yourself in the mirror and go, can I lead a top class team? When the going gets tough and that team member's not right, can I either train them out of this or move them on?
Yeah.
There is a high quality standard at a micro level that the business needs to thrive and survive. No different to any business. A crappy McDonald's will get terrible reviews, and you've got to be consistent and show up. The difference with our business is that our consistent and show up is a big level higher. So it's about great service, great food, great experience that leads to great reviews and people wanting to return.
Yep. Fantastic. And I suppose people will find the money if they do want to have that experience.
Yeah, 100%.
I always like to finish these things on a high, and it's down to testimonials or success stories. You say you've been with the business 18 months or so, but what have you seen since you've been in the position that has really gone, do you know what, there's a bit of magic to this business?
I probably will start on the strength of the brand. I won't, people can do their research and find out where I used to work on LinkedIn. But, this is a very strong brand, very high engagements on socials, and it flows through even into other things where we're working with our industry partners for like booking systems, and they go, your email open rates are higher than the industry average. Your repeat booking rates are higher than the industry average. There is something very magical about this brand, and it's a strong undercurrent. So I think that the brand has really surprised and delighted me of its strength and awareness, because we are not McDonald's. It's a solid foundation. We do not have 800 locations, and we never will. We won't even have 100 locations. That's not what the business is about. But I can go anywhere with a Milky Lane shirt and people go, oh, Milky Lane, I love that brand. And I follow you on social media. So it's a really strong brand presence. In terms of success stories, when the business does it right, it really is magical. When, like I said, like an orchestra, if the strings aren't delivering, the orchestra doesn't sound great. So our great operators that deliver key metrics that we're looking at, such as average 5-star reviews, number of reviews per week, kitchen bump times and bar bump times, which mean the speed of service, high average order values, all those things are like, that's the strings, that's the woodwinds, that's the percussion. It really comes together as a beautiful crescendo. So we see that day in, day out with a number of our venues. And again, being transparent, the risk side of it, when we see the venues that aren't doing that, we can see it on a daily, weekly basis, and we do our best to respond and work with the venues accordingly. And sometimes the franchisees listen and sometimes they don't, but that's the beauty of franchising.
Yes. Well, Peter, that's it. thank you very, very much for your time. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this to get under the hood of Milky Lane. And if you out there listening like what you hear and you want to see if you're a good fit for Milky Lane, take our assessment in the description via the link. Or you simply want more information about the business, head over to hatch.com, search for Milky Lane, hit inquire to receive their franchise information back. Once again, Peter, thank you very much for your time.
Great. Thanks so much, David.